Hello and welcome to What's New in Aerospace. My name's Marty Kelsey. I'm one of the hosts of STEM in 30, a TV show for middle school students. And we have a great program for you today talking about careers in aviation. We are joined by Mandy Semick and Shabnam Emdadi from Uber Elevate. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
We've also got Mike Hankins from the National Air and Space Museum, curator in the Aeronautics Department, and we're going to be answering all of your questions about careers in aviation. So go down to the comments section, let us know what questions you have, tell us what job you want. Put them down in the comments section, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can today. So to get us started, Mandy, I'll just start with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Uber Elevate and maybe a little bit about your path to get there.
Awesome. I actually lead business development at Uber Copter, which is part of the Elevate organization. We have this enormous vision for all electric flight throughout cities around the world for Uber Elevate. And today we started that program with Uber Copter, which is a hero route between JFK and New York City. And so I lead our effort to partner with businesses, organizations, people, and communities to bring that product to life. Before this, I actually had started my own company in the beauty space. And before that, I came from research. I studied stem cell biology at Harvard and nutrition at Columbia. So I'm really a scientist who's really focused on bringing emerging technologies to everyday people.
How about you?
Yeah, so I'm currently a software engineer on the Aerospace Systems team. I work on Copter as well. Our team is led by Dr. Tom Prevo, who you all met yesterday. But our team is ultimately on a broad level responsible for building all the software we would need to manage this new network of aircraft. And so you can think about it from all the fundamental things like operational planning and route planning and trajectory prediction, all the way down to all the tools we need to do a lot of really cool data analysis to determine what the demand is going to look like in our cities with this new mode. And in terms of how I got here, definitely also not a straight shot. I have been at Uber now for almost 4 years. So previous to joining the Elevate team, I was working on all over the company, whether it was on the rider side, doing kind of billings and payments, or on the driver side. And then previous to that, in a previous life, I was doing economic consulting. And so definitely also just kind of been all over the place and kind of a jungle gym with my career at this point.
Nice. And Mike, I'm sure you had a straight shot to get to the National Air and Space Museum, right?
Not at all, not even a little bit. I actually started off as a jazz performance major. I was a musician for a long time. And then decided, eventually to go back to school and to do grad school and become kind of an academic and teach. So I kind of went the traditional historian academic route. And eventually I did teach for a little while, but I eventually got this curator job. So as a curator, I get to do some really amazing, fun things like interact with artifacts. I get to be part of a team that helps design galleries and writes the labels that people read when they come into the museum. And I get to interact with the public a lot, and people so I get all kinds of crazy emails from, tell me more about this airplane, to, hey, does the parachute on an SR-71 explode if we need to do repairs on it? I get weird questions like that, which is a lot of fun. And I'm also a historian, so I get to do my own research projects, and I get to write books and articles and things like that. So I study airplanes and that kind of thing.
Nice. Well, I want to remind everybody watching that head down to the comments section and do a couple of things. One, tell us where you're watching from. The last couple of days, we have had people watching from literally all over the world. This morning, we had somebody watching a live chat that we did about animals in aerospace, watching from Australia. We've had the whole country covered. So let us know where you're watching from, and we'll give you a shout out. And then also, any questions that you have about careers in aviation, please put them down in the comments section. We would love to answer them. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the skills that you all are looking for in future employees. What kind of things should a student that's in middle school or even an adult looking to change careers, what are you all looking for?
Foremost, we're looking for well-rounded people who have experiences in all kinds of fields. You don't have to specialize in aerospace from the 8th grade and onward. Really, we're looking for people bringing diverse sets of experiences and perspectives that helps us actually challenge the way that we think about travel in and around cities. It helps us challenge the way we think about the right partners to bring this sort of system to life. Do we need to be working with real estate agents? Do we need to be working with air traffic controllers? Who do we need to work with to really bring out the future of urban aerospace mobility? So most and foremost, we're looking for people who are bringing a diverse set of perspectives to the table.
Yeah, and kind of adding on to that, just like being curious and let that curiosity drive you, and having a drive to to solve like really hard problems.
Yeah, that being curious is a really good point, and I think that is a driver in a lot of different careers. When we think about kind of curation or museum work or academic historian kind of work, that curiosity is what sustains you. So I think that's good. And there's an old joke a lot of times. Oh, I have a cat.
Love it.
Here, Barry.
Was that planned?
That was not planned.
I didn't know we were bringing animals to this podcast.
Yeah.
My cat will be here
in
in 5
career prospects. Yeah, but what I was saying is, there's an old adage that, it's hard to get work as a historian, and I don't think that's true, because it gives you a skill set that you can apply to a lot of different careers, and it has a lot to do with research, and kind of being able to contextualize lots of different information, and finding those skills to find information, process it, make it accessible to other people, and that's something that's pretty universal to a lot of different fields. So history is a good field for that.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to give some shout outs. We've got the WFH Starbase teachers watching, Powder Springs, Georgia, Seebeck, Washington, Limerick, Maine. What a great name. I want to go visit Limerick, Maine. Kingsport, Tennessee, Springfield, Virginia, King George, Columbia, Maryland, Bangladesh, and South Africa are all watching. We've got all kinds of people watching from all over the country and all over the world. And so we're getting some questions in. Please put the questions down in the comments section. See if you can stump these guys. That would be awesome. So Mike, we've got a question for you. Somebody wants to know, why does the aerospace industry need a historian?
All kinds of reasons. But it's cool because as a historian, there's a lot of different things you can do. So you could do something like what I do, which is curation, working at a museum. We need history to be able to obviously keep track of what humans have done in the past and how we can learn from that. So we always need people that are kind of chronicling what's going on and what's been going on. And history is more than just what happened in the past. It's coming up with what can we learn from the past? How can we ask questions about what has gone before? And what new insights can we get? And those questions that we come up with are always changing. So we can always think of new things to ask about what's come in the past. But you can also have a job as a historian that's related to keeping track of what's going on as it happens. So the military, for example, hires a lot of historians to be unit historians in their different places. So like different Air Force bases are going to have base historians or unit historians that write about things as they happen. And so when I go back and do research, I'm going to read what those people write. So you could get a job as a historian doing something like that. There's all kinds of roles for that, because if we don't know what we've done before, how are we going to be able to build on it and keep moving forward? So there's all kinds of opportunities for that. Plus, being a historian, like I said, gives you that skill set of research that even if you're not studying history with it, you can use that skill set to apply to something else.
So Mike, I'm going to throw a question out to you that I have for kids and even adults that may be watching. Is now an interesting time to be keeping a journal for future generations to look at?
Oh my gosh, yes. So much, yes. I can't tell you how many times I've been doing a research project and I'm reading about somebody, or I'm looking at notes, or I'm looking at official documents, and I'm just thinking to myself, wow, I wish I had a log of what this person was thinking when they wrote this, or what this person, what was going through their head when they were dealing with this tough decision. And there are some people that keep good diaries, and I can go back and look and say, like just the other day, I was looking at something from the 1980s, and President Reagan has a diary, and I can look in there and be like, what was he thinking when this happened? Oh, here it is. He wrote it down. There's other people like For example, Abraham Lincoln does not keep a diary. So I have no idea what was going through his head for a lot of these momentous decisions. And sometimes I wish I did. So, and a lot of times it's not just leaders. I mean, I pulled those presidents out of the air, but like random people, like I want to know what people are thinking at various levels and various roles in society. So the more people that keep these kinds of records, the better. I would say, yes, keep a journal, pass it down through your family, put it in an archive, do whatever you can to preserve that stuff.
Nice. All right. So we've got Sarah, age 15, wants to know, Mandy and Shabnam, I think this is for you. What made you guys want to go into this field, into the aerospace industry?
So I guess I can go first, and we'll hand it off to Mandy. Ultimately, I was just really curious. I was really curious, and I saw an area in which there were really hard problems to solve. And I loved the fact that with Elevate in particular, it was kind of building from a blank slate in a sense. So we're kind of pioneers in this urban air mobility space. And so everything is from scratch. And that means a lot of really cool things. So there's no assumptions. You're not taking anything for granted. And that challenge was really alluring for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I've always been obsessed with travel. My mom worked in the travel industry, specifically on trains. And so I loved that. And when I started to hear about Uber's initiative to look at the sky and how we might do that, my innate curiosity as a scientist kicked in. And I really thought there's ways that we can test and try new things out. And I think I would love to be part of that, that group of people that's really breaking the mold on that. And I think I sort of have always been interested in doing the cutting edge research or the cutting edge work. And because I love travel, Uber Elevate felt like a really natural place for me to go. But also I've just been interested in the way that cities were built, thinking about the Marchetti constant, how we get around cities, built to get around them between 20 and 30 minutes. That's the ideal amount of time for commuting. What does that look like if you have a helicopter that can get you to another place in 20 to 30 minutes? Does that city expand? Who gets to be part of that community as a result? And so the way that the work we do fits into the larger context of the world is really what excites me about Uber Elevate.
Awesome. All right, we've got a bunch of questions coming in, and people watching from the principal of a school in India is watching. Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York, Seven Mountains, Washington, D.C., Monterey, Mexico, Cincinnati, Boston, McDonald, Ohio, Michigan, Myrtle Beach, St. Louis, and Calgary, Alberta. Thank you all for tuning in. This is really cool. I love doing the shout outs because it's fun to see how many people all across the country and across the world are watching these. So we've got somebody watching, and they say they're not a middle schooler, and I'm not going to say their age. They're a little older than middle school, but they want to know if it's too late to learn to fly. They have good health and good eyesight.
I think it's never too late to try. I mean, why put a limit on it? Go for it. You can get a civilian pilot's license. It's a little pricey, but you can do it. I don't think there's a limit to the age.
Awesome. All right, we've got Ian, age 12, from Myrtle Beach, and he wants to know what different jobs are available to those that want to get a pilot's license in aviation. Who wants to take that? Mandy, you want to start with that one?
I mean, there are tons of jobs. I mean, you can look at flying for commercial airlines. You can look at flying for smaller operators. We work with several smaller operators more regionally. That allows us to scale our product really well. I think there are lots of different opportunities there to lead the way. And when we think about the travel industry now coming out of the current situation, they're going to be looking for more pilots. They're going to be looking for more people to get involved in aviation, to make it easier for people to get around. And so there's always going to be a need. And I think you can think about sort of the types of aircrafts you want to fly or the types of places you want to fly to as a way to start to think about where you might find a job. But there are no shortage of needs for professionals in this space. And you should really start to think about that. Maybe you can start your flying lessons now.
Also, I want to talk for a second about, when we think about like NASA, we think about astronauts, and when we think about, the aviation industry, we think about pilots. And I think you all are great examples. You can be in this industry without being the pilot. So can you tell us a little bit about some of those other jobs that help support, the pilots?
Totally. I mean, just on our own team, like obviously I work in software engineering, but we have product managers, we have operations managers who are really on the lines there helping out with our rider experiences, especially with Ubercopter that we're doing in New York. We have designers. We have data analysts and data scientists who are really in the weeds in the data to understanding how we can think about rider behavior before we even introduce this type of mode. So all those types of jobs are kind of ready and waiting for people to kind of take them on. So certainly not something that's limited to traditional kind of role.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, when you get on a helicopter, you'll have 1 or 2 pilots on that helicopter, but there are scores and scores of people that made that ride possible. Everything from who's in air traffic control, the people on the actual runway, the people that greet you when you get to the terminal, the people sitting in the office that made the marketing email that allowed you to know that it actually existed. So much goes into every single ride, and all of those roles are open to anyone that wants them.
Mike,
and as someone who, oh, sorry, what were we going to say?
No, I was going to ask you. Go for it.
No, I was just going to, because I'm a military historian and kind of specialize in military technology, not only is there the case that for every one pilot that's up flying an Air Force jet or a Navy jet, there's at least 10 people on the ground keeping that jet in the air. But on top of that, there's thousands of engineers that designed those airplanes. So you could go, if you want to be in the aviation industry, but you don't want to fly, there's so much opportunity there to go into the engineering side, the design side, kind of the research side. That takes a huge amount of people, and it's incredible work, and it's groundbreaking, and it's really exciting stuff.
If you want to come work with Mike and I at the National Air and Space Museum, there is such a huge range of jobs there. You know, everything from curator, historian. We also have a very active science department called the Center for Earth and Planetary Studies that are studying moons across the solar system and our moon and all kinds of really cool, crazy stuff. We have a huge education department that does stuff like you're seeing right now, as well as the programming. So we've got just this range of different folks that work at the National Air and Space Museum. So really, whatever you want to pursue, I think in the aviation field, there's going to be a place for you. We've got Gunnar, who's age 8, and Ben from Michigan, who's age 11. They both want to know the same question. What is your all's favorite parts of your job? Mandy, we'll start with you.
Oh man, I wish I had a moment to pick one of them. Honestly, my favorite part of my job is being able to work with different types of people. Like, you know, when we started to see that schools were going to go online, my first thought was, who can I work with to bring something interesting to kids in their homes? And honestly, being able to do something like this is one of my favorite things about my job. I can't do my job alone. I have to work with tons of different teams across the company and across other organizations. And that might be my favorite thing about this. There's so many people chipping in to really think about what the future actually looks like. And people like Marty and Mike are also part of that too.
Shabnam, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of going to steal a little bit of the answer, but give a little bit of a twist to it, which is, so, you know, Mandy was saying kind of the external people that she gets to kind of work with is really exciting. I would say the people internally within our teams are really wonderful. So like you all have experienced the last couple of days with interviewing Tom and Nikhil, our team is built up of people from such diverse backgrounds. So people who have 20 years of NASA experience, people are coming in from the military, people are coming from academia, and there's just such a breadth of knowledge, and you are just learning from them every step of the way. And you just have to be willing to ask the questions, and they're always down to just answer them and give you a straight up 101 lesson on batteries. Like, how do they work? And they're always willing to do that with you. And I find that just so refreshing that you can find people both so knowledgeable and both so incredibly humble. That's definitely my favorite part.
Mike, how about you?
I mean, there's so much to love about this job, and it's hard to pick a favorite. I mean, I learn something every day through research and getting to try to take the things that I've learned that make me excited and help other people discover those, and then watching how they react when they learn something new. That's incredible. That's always fun. But if I'm being really honest, I mean, my favorite part really is going down into the museum before it opens, before all the lights are up, and just staring at these airplanes and just taking in how cool they are. I just love that. I'll never get tired of that.
Can we get the VIP tour?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I love
My
that.
favorite museum.
Yes, come on down. We'll hook you guys up with a VIP tour. And you all mentioned your coworkers. One of the things that I think everybody is missing right now is the people that they work with, and we've got, I mean, literally right now there are 10 people on the background of this call that you can't see that are doing the tech and making sure that our cameras look good and everything is going right. And without them, we couldn't do all of this. And just being able to interact with them, I think, is something that we're all missing right now. And I'm hoping that we all appreciate more, when things get a little bit more back to normal. We've got a lot of questions coming in here. I'm going to do a couple more shout outs. We've got Atlanta, Georgia tuning in. Remember, we've got a few minutes left. If you want to ask questions, head down to the comments section. Joseph, age 9, wants to know what your favorite airplane is. Mike, we'll start with you on that one.
So, again, there's a lot of great options, and it's really hard to pick. But if I'm being honest, so when I was working on my master's degree, I didn't know what I wanted to write about for my research project, but I knew that I loved F4 Phantoms. And I had read so many books about the F4 Phantom, and I was like, I don't know if there's any more room for me to do a new research project on this. And I went in to see my advisor, and I was like, we were talking about what my project could be. And he goes, a lot of Phantoms got shot down in Vietnam. Maybe you could do a study of what was really going on there. And I was like, I've secretly always wanted to write about F4 Phantoms. So it was really, really good. So if I have to pick one airplane, it's probably that one.
Nice. Do you all have a favorite plane, or for you all, maybe it's one that's still in the pipeline coming?
That's the answer I'm going to use. I am waiting for my favorite is yet to come.
eVTOL.
Yeah.
My favorite is a paper airplane, and I get that from my dad. Growing up, he would design airplanes for fun in his spare time, and his friends named him after one of his airplane designs. That was his big nickname, and I have been on a personal quest to be able to create the best paper airplanes. So if anyone has tips for folding paper airplanes the best way, please let me know.
I love it. And what's great about that is that that's an engineering challenge that you can do at home. A lot of people are at home right now. Everybody's got some paper somewhere, fold it up, chuck it across the room, see how it does. And when it doesn't do well, that's real engineering. Go pick it up, fix it, do it again, because, and I'll have you guys weigh in on this, but that iteration of design, trying something, failing and moving on. How important is that to, Mike, what you study and what goes on at Uber?
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you want to take this, but I was going to start by saying we work with 8 different companies that are all helping us design the best eVTOL aircraft. So it takes so many minds coming together to do this.
Absolutely. And I mean, even just speaking solely from the software side, I mean, like you want to iterate fast, and you learn so much from what you would term as those failures, way more than not failing at all, right? You want to get your product out there. You want to get those learnings out there, especially when you're in a space that's so new. Like, any incremental knowledge that you can get from just like seeing it being used in the wild is so crucial and valuable, that you just need to get out there and make some mistakes and just learn from them.
Yeah, it's the same thing for us as well, whether it's a research project where you're asking questions about history and then you go find something out and that leads you to new questions and that leads you somewhere else, or that makes you go back to what you're originally asking in a new way, or whether it's kind of designing a gallery where we've got a team where what if we set up a display that looks like this? Well, what will people think, or how do people respond to that? Okay, well, let's tweak it this way, and you have a back and forth, and that iterative process. I think that same process that you use in engineering gets applied to a lot of different places. So being able to think that way, like you said, iterate quickly and revise things as you go, that's kind of a good skill to have for almost any project you're doing.
So we have a challenge for everybody watching online right now. Make a paper airplane, take a picture of it, see how it does, and then take a picture of the revised design and post that picture. Post those to STEM in30 on social media, Facebook and Twitter. We would love to see those, and I'll make sure that I share those with everybody that we're talking with today. We would love to see that design in action. Joseph, age 9, wants to know if airplane mechanics are still in demand right now.
I absolutely thinking just about the military alone is always going to need mechanics, right? And if you have any sense of how important it is, in various eras in the past, you know how pilots will sometimes have their name on an airplane? Well, a lot of times the chief mechanic will also have their name on an airplane because they consider it theirs. So mechanics have a really important role in the military, always have, and in the civilian sector too. It's hugely important. Those things can't stay in the air without dedicated large teams of mechanics that keep them running.
I'm assuming that Uber is going to have a large fleet of mechanics to match the vehicles as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. And when you think about that, they're going to be constantly flying short range within cities all the time, thinking about like a taxi, just sort of like a car goes through regular maintenance all of the time. So we're definitely going to need people. And to bring that knowledge of how we fix airplanes and aircrafts in the past and thinking about how we can make that better, iterate on that as we just spoke about. So there's going to be so much to learn and so much ground to break, even on just mechanics and how you think about maintenance.
Awesome. All right, we've got KL, a middle schooler, and wants to know if we could elaborate on the sustainability careers in aerospace.
I mean, I can speak to some of the work I'm actually currently doing. You know, we think a lot about how not just Uber Air being environmentally friendly, but how Copter today can make moves to do that as well. And so, like, even in a business development role, I still think about sustainability all the time. Are there partners that we can work with to make our product more green? Are there other initiatives that we can join forces on to help our communities feel more green? So I can just speak to the fact that you don't have to totally go into environmentalism as your total role to be able to have that impact, but it can be part of your job, and finding ways to include that, I think, would actually be even better if every role in these new systems really was focused on making our operations green, making our outreach green. It's something that everyone's got to get involved in.
One of the big roles for aerospace in green energy too is that's not always, comes to mind as quickly as think about wind power, right? Those big turbines. Those giant blades are basically aircraft wings, and a lot of the people designing and working on maximizing the results of those kinds of devices are aerospace engineers. So you could go into that sort of career if you'd like. Electric airplanes are just starting to be experimented with. There's a lot of room to grow there. So there's certainly something the industry, both on the civilian and military side, are really putting a lot of effort into exploring. I think there's a lot of room there.
Awesome. All right, we've got another question about did you like history as a kid, or what were you guys into when you were kids?
I was actually super into history. I was into a lot of random things. I was into history. I was into weather. I used to want to be a meteorologist. I don't know why, but it sounded really, really cool to me. And I don't know at what point I kind of was like, push that to the side and decided something else. But I mean, ultimately, I just liked a lot of random things that didn't seem to tie together at all. But I just found certain things really, really fascinating.
Mandy, how about you?
Growing up, I was obsessed with lab research, and I did a ton of it. Like, I loved being lab pipetting, thinking about how you work with different sorts of animals that you would even study. I did research in axolotl salamanders at one point, and that was really cool, looking at genetic implications of our genomes. And so I was really obsessed with that, and also music. I loved all kinds of music all the time, constantly listening to it. I played 3 different instruments. So I would say that all of those different sorts of interests really did shape who I ended up becoming and continue to develop into. And so it's so important to have all these different types of hobbies. And during this time, I'm trying to pick up a new hobby, bread making. So we'll see how that goes.
Lots of science in the cooking. Lots of science.
There's a lot of science to bread making.
And I love that you mentioned the music, because we've gotten a chance to work with some astronauts and pilots, and it seems like music is a very much a recurring theme. Especially with the folks that are into the mathematics as well. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Mike, how about you?
I mean, yeah, I was into music a lot too. I mean, to the point where I majored in it in college, and it was a lot of fun. But as a younger kid, I was very into history, obviously, which is why I decided to eventually become a historian. I was really into airplanes, and I was really into sci-fi. I still am. You can see my little nerd models behind me, but so science fiction, aircraft, history, all those, music, all that stuff really blends together in this weird mix. And like you said, I think whatever career you go into, you're going to bring your set of unique interests and experiences And there's no one else out there that's got your particular mix, whatever your mix is of interests, that you can bring to the table. So that is important. I think that kind of diversity of interest is really important.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I'm so glad that you mentioned science fiction, because tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, we'll be hosting another Air and Space live chat. This one all about science fiction. We will have Dr. Margaret Weidekamp talking about science fiction. So whatever far out questions you have, send them our way tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We'd like to thank all three of you for joining us today. We'd like to thank Boeing for sponsoring the program, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.